This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
If you're a seeker, don't miss the inspiring book Shamanic Awakening, Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Cochran's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers throughout the Americas. Sandy's initiations across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, combined with her knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth, influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private readings, sacred international journeys, a meditative CD, and her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate your earth walk and create a deeper connection to yourself. Find this and more at her website, starwalkervisions.com.
Welcome to Dialogue with Divinity, everyone. This is your host, Johana Carroll. And today I've got a really special guest. As you know, I always refer to my guests as the wisdom keepers of our times. And certainly Cynthia Sue Larson is one of those people. If you've ever heard about the quantum field and energy, you know how I'm always saying everything is energy. We're really going to delve into that a little bit deeper today. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Cynthia Sue Larson is the best-selling author of Quantum Jumps, Reality Shifts, Aura Advantage, and High Energy Money. We could all use some of that. Cynthia is a life coach. She's got a degree in physics from UC Berkeley, who's been interviewed on the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, and BBC. When she's having fun, you may find her conversing with physicists and cognitive scientists in search of the quantum paradigm, meditating, or practicing her martial arts. Her website is realityshifters.com. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Cynthia Sue Larson to Dialogue with Divinity.
Hi, hello. Such a pleasure to be here.
You know, Cynthia, I think that science kind of gets a bad rap in the world of metaphysics and spirituality. It's like the bad guy sometimes. And yet I've often said on my show that I feel that the age that we're in right now, spirituality and science are having a good marriage. And I feel that there's a lot more that we need to be aware of and we're discovering. So when I watched one of your programs today, actually, before our show, you speak about science and imagination and inspiration being part of that marriage. When people talk to you about the quantum field, what do you think they're really asking you?
What they're really asking, in my opinion, is that they're getting into possibility with a recognition that fixed histories and fixed so-called facts are not necessarily as fixed as we've been led to believe, according to classical paradigms of scientific understanding. And so for me, the quantum opens things back up to imagination and to possibility.
You state on your website that the dawn of this new quantum age presents you with a radical new paradigm, that you're really not your body or situation, but instead are pure energy and pure consciousness. For those people that are listening, can you explain to them what your opinion is on what is pure consciousness?
Wow, you go straight to the tough one.
I do. Why not? Let's grab our audience.
Okay, in 3 minutes or less. Well, what I'll do is I'll try to summarize it so that we all can relate to it, because consciousness gets to the core of something that's so fundamental to our identity. It's how we know when we find the love of our life. It's how we recognize our family, our best friend, our favorite pets and our favorite everything. It's how we know ourselves in relationship to all that is. So consciousness is the core concept of everything, yet there's no way to measure it. So it flies in the face of science because we can't predict whether it's there or not. We can't measure it, yet it actually, according to quantum physics, determines the outcomes that we witness and observe. So it's an extraordinary kind of a conundrum. It's like one hand clapping. It's like that old, adage in the Zen Buddhist tradition that you meditate on something like this. Well, right now, quantum physicists are meditating on these exact kind of conundrums with regard to consciousness, because the very thing that it's consciousness, if we call it a thing, instead of an activity, I think maybe it is more of an activity, then we've misunderstood it. And there's a tendency that people tend to think that we are our bodies, that we're the physical domicile that our spirit resides in. But for anyone who's ever witnessed a person passing away, and I've seen people die and animals die, and when they do, you notice that the shell is left behind. That's not the person. That's not the being. Something is gone that was there a moment earlier that's not there anymore. A lot of us know this. We've had direct experience. And all that I'm suggesting with this theory of quantum jumping is that if we are consciousness, pure consciousness, in this amazing form that we know very well what we mean when we say it, yet we still can't measure it. It's not scientific because we can't predict its presence or absence or transformation. But we're trying. A lot of scientists are working toward that. But in any case, if we just say for a moment, we are this consciousness. We can feel it when it's here. We know it when we see it in someone's eyes. We feel it when it's gone, when someone passes away. Yet, often when someone passes away, we can still feel their presence. And that's the core of quantum jumping, not death exactly, but recognizing that what if we're always moving between different types of material realities? What if consciousness is the conduit that we're traveling with all the time? What if this is our process that's so normal, like breathing, that we don't even notice that we're doing it? And that's basically the premise here.
So we're going to take a quick break, and I really want to hold that thought, because when we come back, I want to really talk about this whole interconnected holographic multiverse that you refer to. So we're going to hold that thought. This is Johana Carroll. You're listening to Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. We will be right back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
We all desire health, happiness, and fulfillment, but often get in our own way. Repeated patterns that leave us out of control can keep us feeling powerless, frustrated, and unable to move forward in spite of our best efforts. Unconscious patterning disconnects us from our gifts, often destroying the very thing we seek. But there is an answer. We can take charge of our destiny and heal the trauma of our history. Shamanism is an effective ancient modality that can reconnect us with our true selves, empower the creation of our dreams, and return us to health and balance. Cody Alexander is a certified shamanic practitioner and teacher with 11 years experience. Email healingpathways33@gmail.com or visit codyalexander.net to schedule a long-distance shamanic session today.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Johana Carroll. You are listening to Dialogue with Divinity. By the way, if you would like any further information about what I personally have been doing for the last 30 years, you can find me at johanacarroll.com. And you're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network. We have a very special wisdom keeper of our times today, Cynthia Sue Larson. And before we went to break, we were really talking about consciousness and the presence and knowing when that presence is there and not there. And we talked a little bit about interconnected holographic multiverse. The thing that I love about this, Cynthia, on your website is that you state you're literally jumping from one parallel universe to another with every choice that you make. So if people are awake and conscious, because we're talking about consciousness, do you think they literally are aware that when they are making those choices, that there is this sense of jumping into all these different dimensions?
That's a great question, and it depends on the individual, but
Okay.
I've definitely heard from people that do know it, and some of the experiences where that's happening I've shared over the years, the last 20 years on my website, Reality Shifters, through the monthly newsletter, which is Reality Shifters. And for example, there might be a situation which I'm now thinking of one that's mentioned in my book, Quantum Jumps, where a woman was driving with her husband and they were experiencing car problems, money problems, you name it. It just seemed like everything was going wrong. It's one of those nightmare situations where your car is out of gas and your wallet is out of money. It's like nothing's working.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing you really don't want to have happen. And then when your mind starts going that direction, like, oh my gosh, we're stranded. There's nowhere we can't get gas for the car. We can't sleep anywhere. We are doomed. And worse than that, if we park or anything, the car might not start again. It was just a series of nightmare situations. And this is such a standard kind of concern from people who know how to do this. This is now we're starting to hear a familiar story. Someone who's recognizing, like, oh my gosh, I'm at the end of my rope. And it could be the end of their rope with health. Maybe the doctors have given a bad diagnosis, whatever. In this case, it's money and a car. It really doesn't matter what the conditions are. The person who's consciously aware that this is not really real, that this is just what seems to be real, is able then to go into a meditative state, preferably and hopefully because they do this often. So if you pray, if you've got a spiritual tradition that you do regularly, wonderful, because that's kind of building up your spiritual muscles, because this is what happens next. What happened next is the woman realized, wait a minute. Yeah, this is looking scary, but I've been through this before. I know that just because it seems like my credit card's not working, the ATM thing doesn't work, the card's not working, the vehicle, everything seems like it's falling apart all at the same time. That's not necessarily true. And, it could be that things might work. So it's just kind of giving reality, giving your physical experience that opportunity, if you will, to reset, recognizing that we are consciousness, and that as consciousness, we're capable of traveling between a number of different possibilities, and one of them would be one in which it's just an adjacent possibility. It doesn't need to be that different, but one where the car will start again, and somehow, miraculously, money becomes available through that wallet and credit card that was no longer working, apparently, just a moment earlier.
So do you think
exactly
that this, do you think this is also on, maybe a more cognitive observation, moving from the polarity of fear into love and wholeness and awareness that, anything is the realm of all possibilities?
Right. Yes, I do feel that there's something going on here that that as we go through levels of awareness, I think a couple of things are going on. Because when you practice Tai Chi or some kind of energy movement or yoga, that kind of thing, or Kundalini yoga, lots of different modalities teach us how to breathe and think and move together. And when we do that, then we can start becoming that mind, body, spirit being that we're meant to be, instead of functioning on a fragmented basis where our world splits apart. And we can feel the fragmentation when it happens. And so another way to look at it is recognizing, okay, things are fragmenting. I'm not a fragmentation. I am one with all that is. I am. Just recognizing, and like you said, feeling that love, and recognizing fear is an illusion. So it really is tied to all of that. So there is an emotional alchemy aspect, and for people who feel like they're not good at that, it's just I like to work with people where they are, and when I'm doing life coaching sessions, to recommend that they build up their muscles, their spiritual mind, body, spirit muscles right where they are, because everybody's on a different place. Some people like myself instantly remember, I've changed, bigger things than this, or I've been a catalyst in observing things change miraculously at massive levels before. Because I'm not saying I'm God, or I'm not claiming that. What I'm saying is quite different. It's just that I've witnessed extraordinary miracles, real time, as needed, over and over and over and over and over, dozens, if not hundreds of times in my life, to the point that it's unquestionable for me. Whereas someone who might be coming into this new, and for them it's a huge paradigm shift. It's hard to believe that anything could change. They feel like it's a bigger miracle for anything at all to change. So
I do believe that we all do have a divine inheritance. And when you say inheritance, right away people think money. But the inheritance from the divine realm is, as you were saying before, the realm of all possibilities. And I know my son has said this to me many times. Why are you such a good manifester? And my response has always been the same. Because I know that I can. I believe that divine inheritance is available to me. And, I do think it sort of goes back to the whole empirical proof thing. Even as, human beings, we need validation, we need proof. But for those of you that are listening, I would really encourage you to consider, a paradigm is a belief system. Believe that this is available. So you talk a little bit about the mandala effect. Can you explain to our listeners what that really is?
Yes, the mandala effect, or Mandela effect, has to do with Nelson Mandela and the fact that back in 2010, there was a blogger who noticed when she went to a conference that some of the people who were attending the conference, like herself, had remembered that Nelson Mandela had died previously to 2010. And suddenly, they were surprised to notice he was still alive. So this is a kind of a group observation of this discrepancy between what appeared to be actual history and what people remembered as having been historically true. And so, pursuant to that recognition, Fiona Broom was the blogger's name. She created a website about the Mandela effect, is what she called it. And this is based on the fact that lots of people were noticing that a celebrity had died, but then here he is alive again. And so with this kind of transformative experience, she started opening the conversation up to all sorts of people from around the world, very similar to what I've been doing through my realityshifters.com site. And she was asking people, starting in 2010, what other things have you noticed changing? And getting information that people notice changes in movie dialogue, changes in product names, changes in all sorts of things, other celebrities that had been noticed being dead and alive again. And this is pretty much identical to what I've been writing about and publishing since the 1990s. Also, in my book, Reality Shifts, having the observation that actor Larry Hagman had died and then he was alive again. And I've been doing surveys of people who had noticed celebrities alive who had definitely been dead before. And so this one is just interesting because that's where Mandela effect got its name. What's noteworthy is that with the advent of this catchy term, people started sharing more and more information on websites like Reddit and posting their own YouTube videos, and it's just really become quite a viral phenomenon.
Yeah, it's become sort of a movement. You know, it's wonderful that you're mentioning Nelson Mandela because I have his inauguration speech in my office. And, you know, the thing that I always go back to is when he talks about it's really our light that we're afraid of. You know, we're afraid of what's really available and how powerful we really are as divine beings. So we're comfortable with sometimes the darker energy or fear, whatever you'd like to call it, that lower energy field. And in this whole consciousness shift that you're speaking about and the whole reality shift, I think it's so important for people to, first of all, not get invested or totally programmed by everything that you're reading, being able to think for yourself, trusting your intuition. And, you know, that website, so people can just find it by going on their browser and typing in Mandela effect, right?
Well, if you type in Mandela effect, I don't know where that takes you to. There's so many things, like I said, some of the best places to go now would be not just Fiona Broom's website, but also the Reddit websites. And you're going to see articles in some of the big magazines and newspapers. Snopes has their own, I don't recommend the Snopes website because they call it misremembering without giving any credence whatsoever to the spiritual quantum side that we're looking at.
Right.
And without understanding why this would be trending upward, other than they think there's a massive misremembering going on. So my website would be, MandelaEffect.com would be Fiona Broom's website.
Okay.
And then my website is realityshifters.com.
Right.
And
so we would send people to your website first, obviously.
Right.
Just before we take our next break, you mentioned it very briefly a few seconds ago, the spiritual side of reality shifts. How would you, I mean, the world, like I said in the beginning, I feel that spirituality and science really are in a good marriage right now. And I do feel that science, I don't want to say it's catching up to a lot of the ancient teachings, but when I go back to, you know, a lot of the Vedic teachings and, you know, a lot of the Sanskrit teachings, the ancient religions and ancient languages, you know, it's kind of like, okay, you're there, you know, and so science is really, I love the fact that you say they're meditating. That's fabulous. So very quickly before we go to break, what is the spiritual side of reality shifts? How would you define that?
Wow. To me, it's the recognition that we are consciousness, that is our birthright. As you said, it's this is our heritage. It's where we really came from. It's who we really are. And so getting into that awareness and re-experiencing ourselves as love and that divine spark in human form, living a human life, that's the beginning of recognizing that we're walking with our feet in two worlds. And as soon as you notice that you're going back and forth consciousness to what seems like a physical reality, that's how we learn to walk, as we take one step with each foot. And you can think of it that way. And that's what, to me, the spiritual nature of reality shifts, that you've got one foot in the spiritual realm as consciousness. And you can do that. You can, with each choice you make, recognize I'm choosing love. I'm asking how good can it get? And I'm moving in that direction. And then you choose, then you accept what is. And then you take a step forward and you choose again. I choose love. I ask how good can it get? And then you accept what is. So it's a 1-2 thing. It's a way to live spiritually in a human body.
It's a great dance. It's a great dance. I know Greg Braden wrote a wonderful book about walking between the two worlds. And so a lot of my clients will say, well, you know, what about my husband? And I'll suggest that they, obviously, we want them to read your work as well. But, you know, that's a great book for a lot of men because he had such a engineering, scientific type of mind. So we're going to take a real quick break, and we will be right back with Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Hi, everybody. This is Johana Carroll. We're talking about quantum jumps, so let's just jump back into this next section. You are listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And by the way, if you'd like to check out our other hosts and their great schedules, please go to xzbn.net. So, Cynthia, before we went to break, we were talking about the whole spiritual side of reality shifts and where science is with that. Does science ever use the word soul?
Well, to the degree that a scientist might believe in a soul, they might use it, but science itself can't measure the soul, although they might have tried. I don't think we've yet succeeded at that. So, again,
that must be quite a conundrum on some level.
Yeah, science is right. It's all about predictions. It's about can you measure it? Can you predict it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's design an experiment. What's the hypothesis? And it's boy, all that we can really do with soul, like I said, you can see it when you're with someone when they pass away. For those of us who are empathetic and you happen to have had that experience, then you know what I'm talking about. You can feel that now I'm left with a body here, but I can feel that the soul is present. It's just not in that body anymore, and you can really see the difference right there. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah, no, that's a, and the other thing is also for me, I think when people have those little moments in their life, watching a sunset, listening to a baby laugh, beautiful music, things that are really touching them, in my language, at a deep, profound level in their soul, there definitely is a connection at a more profound reality, like you're saying, reality shifting, quantum jump into that new place. And I've always found it fascinating that science, in the past anyway, my observation has always been very intrigued by measuring where the universe begins and ends. And with consciousness shifting all the time, how is that even possible?
Well, you mean how is it possible to measure where it begins and ends? Or?
Yeah, from a scientific viewpoint. I mean, if something is always undulating and moving, and I've always personally, my experience of energy on a quantum field, it's always moving. It's always moving. So if you can't stop it and freeze it, how can you actually measure it? Can you?
This gets to the heart. Well, I love that question, and this to me is the definition of where science needs to go next with understanding the quantum theory in what I would call the quantum paradigm. And so it gets to the heart of what's really going on. So far, the last 100 years since quantum physics has been with us since 1900. The trouble is we've been trying to understand it with classical minds. And so when we look at the quantum realm and we notice that everything can be in what's called a superposition of states at the realm of the very, very small. And so we know probabilities, but we don't know exactly the location, for example, of an electron that's buzzing around, zooming around outside of the nucleus of an atom.
Right.
So we can only basically describe it mathematically in terms of probabilities of where we might expect to find it. And there's a definite degree of uncertainty there. People have heard of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and they're familiar maybe with some of these ideas I'm talking about. Not to get into the math or scare people away. I just want to address this because it's so important that basically the fundamental quantum nature of reality, what I'm saying and what I'm experiencing and what I'm asserting is that we are witnessing, when we see a miracle, we're basically witnessing a quantum event on a macroscopic scale. So you can actually witness the spontaneous remission of cancer, for example. You can witness, as I've described in my book, Quantum Jumps, that a broken bone is no longer broken. And so the kind of miracles that some of our saints and sages and some of the wise, wonderful people of the spiritual world have talked about and said are true, I am a big believer in those miracles. So instead of saying, oh, those couldn't have happened, I'm telling you scientifically, we're about to start seeing an explanation of how those miracles actually do happen. And that's what I write about in my book, Quantum Jumps. It's called An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and Prosperity, but you could just as well call it the science of miracles, because that's what I'm describing, and that's where all of my work is going, is just further investigation of this, because I feel like we're at this cusp of the dawning of the real meaning of quantum physics.
So that's where the word jump comes in.
Yes. Well,
I have to tell you, I'll tell you a story. I broke my wrist a number of years ago, And it was pretty bad. It was shattered in 4 or 5 places. And when I went to the doctor, he said, "You'll never use this wrist again." And I said, "Well, that's your reality, but it's not mine." And he just kind of looked at me like, poor little thing. Put the cast on, da 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 da. I've talked about this before on the show. So I started meditating on my wrist, seeing it flexing and telling it how much I loved it. And, I'd stick my fingers under that cast, as much as I could. And I'd be massaging my wrist. I love you. I love you. I love you. Well, when the cast came off, my wrist was fine. And he just kind of looked at me and, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, my reality was that my wrist was going to be fine. And, I also believe in energy, and I really believe in the power of prayer." And he just kind of looked at me. But, I've had lots of clients who are doctors, physicians, surgeons, whatever. They witness this stuff all the time. I'm not sure that they really talk about it within their medical community, but there's really a recognition that this does exist. So that whole quantum jump reality shift, I think we just have to pay attention and realize as an individual that we really are witnessing it, or that we have the opportunity to witness it. As you were saying, someone that's gone into full remission with cancer, people say it's a miracle. It is a miracle. It is a miracle. It's a miracle, but it's also something that is so available to everyone. I guess does it depend upon the depth of your belief system?
Well, that's a good point. It can, and it helps. So I get into this in my book, Quantum Jumps, where I describe the placebo effect and the fact this is a great example of quantum jumping, because placebo means I shall please. It started in World War II when the doctors ran out of painkiller for the wounded soldiers. All they had was salt and water, so they could put that into some sort of a saline injection and shoot it into a soldier's arm and pray that, that basically say, "This, I hope this makes you feel better." And doctors have been giving placebos ever since medicine was invented, actually.
Oh, yeah, the whole sugar pill thing, sure.
Yeah. Well, sugar pills came after the salt water. The salt water thing was this was like the first time people really knew for sure. They're giving a placebo on purpose to patients.
I never knew that's what it meant. I shall please. What's the root source of the word, placebo?
Well, it comes from the Latin. So
okay.
I have a whole section on this in my book, Quantum Jumps, and
Good.
I get into much more than this, but it's part of this. I have tons of science for people who are just feeling like, I don't get it, I don't understand this. The people that like the Greg Braden stuff, and that's what Quantum Jumps is designed to help people like that who feel like resistant to this. They want to believe in miracles, but they're having trouble. But if you look at the placebo effect, and you notice that it has more than doubled in the last 30 years. So we've gone from a situation where people would be given a sugar pill or a saltwater injection and get slightly better, but that it was amazing that it worked at all. So if you get like a 20-30% response, that right there is going head-to-head with big pharma, which is not popular with corporate pharmaceutical companies, of course. But then when you factor in people who are spiritual, as I describe this in my book, Quantum Jumps, with all the references are there and everything, then you can learn that people who believe in something bigger than themselves, who are spiritual, they really get a boosted placebo effect. So it's off the charts, because for someone like you and me, we've seen this thing happen. We know it. And we're grateful to get anything, sort of the pat on the shoulder and a smile and the touch of love and hope this helps. For us, that's we're good to go. And that's true of anyone who's spiritual. And I think that's part of the reason that in America, the placebo effect has doubled to the point that it's now about 70% efficacious for people who are spiritual, like you and like me. That is huge. That should be on the front page of the news.
That really is big news. So what do you think for the people that are listening now, that maybe this is all sort of new to them on some level, or want to make the next jump? What are the steps required? I'm sure obviously you have them in your book. And by the way, your books can be found, I'm assuming, on all the main sites, Amazon.com, and your website link, realityshifters.com, right?
Right, and it's audiobook, ebook, paperback, yes. And
you've covered it all.
It's all there.
So what are some of the basic steps required for someone to make a quantum jump?
Well, the first step is to get relaxed. And so we talked about when you feel like you're at the end of the rope is usually when you remember, gosh, I need a quantum jump. How does that work again? You might be panicking slightly. So first thing you want to do is relax, breathe deeply. That helps. So you need to get detached. You want to become mindful that you're observing the situation. So if you've ever meditated in a mindful way, then you know that you can become aware of your breathing, and that counts. You can become aware of your emotional state, and you're very accepting in this state. You're just relaxing, breathing deeply, recognizing, okay, I'm feeling like I'm at the end of my rope. And I remember I was listening to Johana talking with a guest about some quantum jumping thing. That sounds good about now. Okay, I think I'm ready. So that's step one. You just kind of calm down, get detached, get peaceful. And if you are an experienced meditator, then go to your deepest, best happy place. Go to the place where you know that you're all one with all that is, that you are pure love, that you're from that divine kingdom of heaven, or whatever you want to call it. You've got that legacy and that birthright, that you are a manifester. That's who you really are. Step two is feel energized about a positive outcome. If you can't imagine what that would be, you can still get miracles. I've had some of the most mind-blowing ones when I didn't know what to wish for. I just asked, like, how good can it get? My mind was blown. We can talk
How
about
good
that
can
later.
it get? Do you literally say that to yourself?
I do say that, yes.
How good can it get?
Yeah, I was getting a flat tire. I was actually praying. I was talking with God, driving to work, because I was meeting to teach a class to some young students, and I was on my way there, and I got a flat tire. I heard it, felt it, boom, bump, 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 bump. Had to pull the car. And as I'm praying to God, the irony did not reduce me to any kind of negativity at all. I just thought, well, how good can this get?
I love that. You should make a T-shirt.
So I got out
How
of the
good
car.
can it get? I'm
I
going to
walked
start
around.
using it.
I could hear it. I could feel it. You know when you hear that bump, 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 and the car is pulling, it's pulling a little to the side. It's like, oh, brother, and I'm going to get dirty. Oh, well, how good can this get? So I pull over, park the car, look at the tire. This is where my mind is blowing. The tire is not flat. And I get back in the car, but then I had to get out and look at it again because I'm like, wait a minute. Because I heard it. I felt it. It was pulling, I rolled the window down to hear it, You could hear the sound of it. I could hear everything, but now it's fine. And so I touch it, I kind of push on it. There's no need to even get the tire pressure gauge out. And besides, I'm kind of running late. So I get back in the car, drive with the windows down, when the radio off all the rest of the way, listening to every sound of gravel and wheels and everything. It all sounds fine. Get out, dump out, look at the wheel. It's still fine. I do the class for the young students. I come back home. I then show it to my sweetie, who's a car mechanic, and ask, could you check this out? Because something's wrong. And, he checks all the tires. Guess which one was perfectly inflated?
Interesting.
The only tire that was perfectly inflated to 32 pounds per square inch was the right front tire, the one that had gone flat.
That is amazing.
And so you just go ahead and always ask, how good can it get? Leave it to the source. Yeah, because it'll blow your mind. Go higher than you've ever thought you could go. And then step 3, I left that one out, but I don't want to.
We're going to make this quick because we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
We're going to be right back. We'll do step 3 when we come back. So we're going to take a quick break. Hold that thought.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0000 courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and this is Johana Carroll, your host. Again, you can find out all of our information at that call letter station and also my website, johanacarroll.com. So we've got Cynthia Sue Larson. We're going to wrap up our session. We're talking with the quantum optimist is what she is referred to. So before we went to break, Cynthia, we were talking about the steps that are required to make a quantum jump. And now we're on step 3. So first of all, I have to say, I know for myself, the number one thing, and I am a meditator, but if I'm having one of those knee-jerk reactions like, are you kidding me? The first thing I say is breathe. But now I'm going to add breathe. How great can it get? I'm really liking that formula. So that's perfect. Thank you for sharing that. What is step 3 that people should have an awareness of so they can make this quantum jump?
Well, this one fits with your show. It's all about faith, and it's acting as if it's taking positive action that's in keeping with that new reality. So even if you're having trouble believing that everything's okay, just put a smile on, do your best. They say that 90% of anything is showing up. So just show up, be there, do what the person would be doing if things were going well. And that's important in life anyway. It's a really good spiritual principle just to be your best. Sometimes we want to throw a fit, we want to complain, we want to fall into a puddle, and sometimes we need to do that. So I'm not saying don't do it if you need to, but once you don't want to live there, you don't want to live in a puddle of tears, you want to dust yourself off and move forward. So when you've hit the end of the rope, then step 3 is act as if, and there's all sorts of evidence to back this up as well from fields in psychology of what's now called embodied cognition, and it's the field and the science that I have dozens of laboratory-tested, real-life proven techniques to do this, to smile, to be happier, actually. It sounds crazy, but just turn the corners of your mouth up. You can put a pencil in your mouth, and you'll feel happier because it's just helping to pull your mouth into a smile position. And so these are the kinds of things that sound crazy and like, why would that even work?
But they really don't. There was a guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, who I absolutely adore. And he was one of the first gurus that came and in Boston, I think it was in 1920s, and actually taught meditation. And he did a teaching once and it was actually during the Depression. And the whole teaching is be a smile millionaire. And his whole concept was go out and just smile at every single person that you come across. And, for those of you that are listening, at least once a day, whether you're in a bank line or line at the grocery store or wherever, even driving in your car, smile. People are not going to think you're nuts. That little smile energetically can not only just shift something within you, which obviously was what Cynthia's talking about, but it can really affect the life of that other person. There's really, I know sometimes I'll really practice, really consciously practice smiling at people, and they just kind of look at you like, and then all of a sudden they get this nice beam, across energetically across their face. So they kind of got illuminated a little bit. So, is there such a thing in science as faking it till you make it? Is that what this is? Or is this another reality?
This is absolutely true. And that comes from a lot of people, have heard of the psychologist who talked about this and made it popular, just with this whole idea of faking it till you make it, that you can actually, through your willpower alone, decide that you're going to get out of a warm bed, on a cold morning, for example. That's one example he writes about and talks about. And so these are ideas that I share in my book, Quantum Jumps, as well. But you're right about smiling, and you can do things to reduce pain that are as simple as hugging yourself, which sounds crazy, but you can also share hugs with people that like to be hugged. But when you hug yourself, it absolutely is proven to reduce pain. You can perform and persevere better when you cross your arms. I'm not kidding. I've got dozens of these in my book, Quantum Jumps, and it's just really fun. This whole science of faking it till you make it is based on what, if you may have heard of that self-fulfilling prophecy expression.
Sure.
That's from Robert King Merton, and he explained that as a prediction about the outcome of a situation, which invokes new behavior, leading to the prediction coming true. And if you put that another way, you can see why this is a quantum jump. It's as if we're walking into another world of possibility the very moment we make that decision to think, talk, and behave differently. So it's a great way to live, and you can just do one small thing a day, like you said, smile, or hug yourself, or just ask how good can it get. We've talked about 3 really big things just in this one show today, and I think these are enormous. The impact is kind of like a snowball rolling down a hill. It gets bigger and bigger. So you can really turn your life around.
Do you think that a lot of that helps because the biochemistry of the brain is doing a reality shift? In other words, the endorphin levels are going up, and that's why you do feel better, or you do feel happier, even though you are faking it till you make it?
What I'm talking about, what I'm proposing in my book, is that you are consciousness, and you're literally going to a pre-existing reality where the front right tire of your car is already perfectly inflated because it's been completely fixed and inflated and put back on the car before you even touched or checked it. That your wrist is fine because it no longer is broken. The same thing that happened to you happened to my daughter she had a broken ankle and with shattered bones, And I saw an X-ray picture of the shattered bone fragments, and the doctor, she was like 7 years old, said she'll never have two legs the same size again. Not only will she never walk quite right, but she'll be one height on one side of her body and the other height on the other. And so we did the same thing with her ankles that you did with your wrist. You know, I treated both her ankles because the other ankle seemed to want love too. But every time I tucked her in at night, we do that. And so what we're doing is you're jumping to the reality where that wrist is fully healed, where that ankle never splintered and shattered like that. There's a reality out there where you never had that cancer, where your tire was never flat, where you've got extra money in your bank account. I write about all these things in my books. And real people, not just me, but lots of people have experienced it. This is real science, and it's the way that our biology works in the field of photosynthesis and enzymes in our body, and so much more than we can possibly cover on the show today.
So for those of you that are listening that really are looking for a paradigm shift, a reality shift, and a big quantum jump, and all the steps, how to do that, you want to go check out Cynthia's book, her latest book, Quantum Jumps. You'll find that on our website, which is realityshifters.com, and I'm sure on amazon.com. So just to wrap up, how do you envision quantum jumping really affecting our daily lives on the most basic level?
Well, it's already affecting our lives on a daily level, and as we realize that's happening, then we're going to start seeing that our view of all of the scientific disciplines are going to change, and even the way we listen to each other will change. Instead of thinking someone's crazy when they tell you that something happened that you don't remember that way, you're going to have a more open mind to it, and you'll recognize that alternate histories are occurring. This is the new world that we're walking into at this dawn of the new quantum age. And we can get a feeling for it if you want to by playing games like there's a QCraft module on Minecraft. You can tinker around with that. And you can just be aware of the fact that we're always in this field of possibility every single day. And that this is the way we actually do live our lives. Things are not set in physical, fixed format that we tend to have assumed by studying our sciences before. All of the sciences are getting an overhaul. They're all getting a makeover, a quantum makeover right now. And you can.
But you know, I've noticed even in the you know, like you were saying in the beginning, the language is changing. You know, like the word intuitive, we never would have seen that in a television ad before. It's all over the place now, which is good. And I also noticed with my doctor the last couple of years, he's done a reality shift, a quantum shift, because he's looking at, you know, blood tests and all of that. But, you know, he'll turn to me and he'll say, well, how do you feel? I trust more what your body is telling you than what a report is going to tell me. I'm like, I definitely am with the right doctor, because, you know, first of all, he's honoring the fact that, you know, I do have a voice in my own health care, but, you know, that I do have a connection with my body, and I intuitively do trust that. And the fact that he, as a medical professional, is honoring that is really a big shift. So first of all, you know, we probably need to have you back again, because this went really way too fast. But thank you so much for joining our show today. And again, this is Cynthia Sue Larson. You can find everything at her website at realityshifters.com. Go check out her book. She's got multiple ones. Latest one, Quantum Jumps, going to give you all a lot of really good tools to just land in that world of all possibilities where it's all great. So thank you so much, and I wish you many blessings for the future.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you that are listening, I just want to say that, you know, we're in a new year. It's a new beginning. Whether you want to make it about predictions or not is really up to you. But I would encourage you, as one of your goals, to breathe and to really go to that place that Cynthia was talking about, of, you know, how you can make your world great. And here's another way you can make your world great. A couple of things that I've got that are new this year. I've got a wonderful retreat happening in Maui in May of this year. It's called Rise, Renew in the Sacred Elements. So for those of you that have been to Hawaii or even not been to Hawaii, you know that it's a very unique and special place. Mother Maui is considered one of the most powerful heart chakra places on Earth. We're going to be there for 5 days at a 5-star resort. So if you would like to work with a 5-star teacher, which I consider myself to be after 30 years, I welcome you to join me. You can find all that information and more on my website at Johana Carroll, that's 2 R's and 2 L's.com. And I want to remind you that you are listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network. You can find a listing of all our shows and all of our hosts at xzbn.net. The intention of this broadcast network, which by the way is global, for those of you that are listening, this show is going to be heard many times, and it's our intention